I swear to you, if someone told me 5 years ago that my own son would walk into my kitchen, lean against the counter like he owned the place, and tell me to pack my bags and leave the house I built with my own hands, I'd laugh in his face. Loud. The kind of laugh that ends with a cough because you're too old to pull that off smoothly. But that's exactly what happened. And the craziest part? He wasn't joking. I know, it sounds like one of those soap opera stories people talk about over cheap coffee in a diner at 7 a.m. But this isn't TV. It's my life. And it started out like every other perfectly normal Tuesday in the suburbs of Indiana. Yeah, Indiana. Not New York, not California, Indiana. A place where nothing unbelievable ever happens. Except, well, it does. I was standing in the kitchen, staring at the toaster like it had personally offended me. I don't eat much bread these days, but every morning I make 2 slices anyway. One for me, one for my wife, Carol. We've been married 37 years. 37. That's long enough to finish each other's sentences and occasionally finish each other's arguments before they start. Carol was sitting at the table, wearing my old flannel shirt over her pajamas. She looked half awake, stirring her coffee like it owed her rent money. She's always been the calm one. I'm the loudmouth, the guy who says what he thinks. She's the anchor, which is why, when she said, "Tom, I have a bad feeling about her," I didn't just roll my eyes and shrug it off. "She seems nice," I said back then. "Polite. Always says thank you and brings that store-bought pie." Carol gave me that look. You know the look. The one women have mastered after years of watching their husbands underestimate obvious signs. It's not about how she acts. It's what's behind it. Her name was Lisa. My son, Mark, met her at some volunteer event, handing out canned goods to people right before Thanksgiving. Sweet, right? Classic good girl move. Pretty, polite, smart, smiles like she just walked out of a toothpaste commercial. And from day one, Carol didn't trust her. I didn't want to be that dad. The cliché suspicious old man who hates every girlfriend his son brings home. So I tried. I smiled. I made small talk. I watched football with Mark while she sat next to him, pretending to care about the game. She even learned the team names. I'll give her credit for that. But something about her always felt calculated. Like she'd already figured out where the knives and forks go in my kitchen before she ever moved in. Mark used to be easy to read. He was always this open book, a loud, goofy, kind kid who could never lie without twitching his left eyebrow. But after Lisa came along, he started changing. Subtle at first. Less time with us. Fewer calls. Then he stopped coming over on Sundays, which used to be sacred in this house. Not because we're some old-fashioned family or anything. It's just we liked it. Football, barbecue, arguing over which team sucked more this year. That kind of thing. One Sunday, I asked him, "Hey, you skipping dinner again this week?" He answered with, "Lisa's not feeling great. We're just going to stay in." And it kept happening. Every week, Lisa wasn't feeling great. Or they had some plans. Or they needed rest. You get the idea. Now, before anyone starts saying, "Maybe you were just being dramatic," trust me, I wasn't. I've spent years managing people at work, watching how they talk, how they act. Lisa was polite, yes. But everything she did had an angle. And the more she was in his life, the less of Mark we got to see. Then came the real kicker. It was late spring, warm, humid, and I was outside mowing the lawn because apparently that's what men over 50 do for fun. Mark showed up. He didn't call. He just appeared. He was wearing that stupid gray hoodie he's had since high school, the one Carol keeps trying to throw away. He walked right up to me and said, "Dad, can we talk?" "Sure," I said, shutting off the mower. "What's up?" He glanced toward the house, like he was checking if Carol was inside. "Lisa and we've been thinking. Dangerous activity." I joked. He didn't laugh. That's when I knew something was coming. "We want to move in." I looked at him, wiping sweat off my forehead with my forearm. "Into what?" "Here," he said. "Into the house." I thought it was a joke. I really did. I even laughed. "You mean like the basement?" "Sure, why not? You're my kid." "No, Dad," he said straight-faced. "Into the house. You and Mom can, downsize. Get a condo or something." And that right there, that was the moment. The line in the sand. Listen, I know people have complicated families. I've heard stories, but I never imagined I'd be starring in one. He said it so casually, like he was offering to swap parking spots. Like the last 37 years Carol and I spent here meant absolutely nothing. I didn't blow up. Not at first. I just stared at him, long enough for him to shift uncomfortably. Mark, I said slowly, you do realize your mother and I live here. I know, he said, but this house is too big for you guys now. Lisa thinks. Lisa thinks. I cut him off. Lisa thinks what? That it's just practical, he continued. She thinks it makes sense for us to build our future here. That word, practical, I almost lost it right there. You know who uses the word practical when talking about someone else's house? Not family, bankers, real estate agents, strangers. I said, so Lisa thinks it's practical for your parents to get the hell out of their own house, so you can play house in it? Don't make it sound like that. How else am I supposed to make it sound, Mark? He folded his arms like a teenager again. Dad, we're getting married. We need space. And you guys always talked about retiring somewhere warmer. So, I laughed. Not the happy kind. The bitter, loud, this can't be real kind. So your plan is to kick your parents out so you can live in their house with your wife? He frowned. It's not kicking you out. It's transferring. Transferring, I repeated. Like this house is a company car? I'll tell you something I didn't know then. That conversation was the first domino. And I thought it was bad already. Oh, I had no idea. You know how in movies there's this moment when the main character looks into the camera and says, I should have seen it coming. Yeah, that was my moment. I didn't see it. I should have. That night, I sat at the kitchen table with Carol. She was quiet, holding her mug with both hands like she always does when she's trying not to cry. What exactly did he say? She finally asked. Pretty much that Lisa thinks we should move out so they can live here. She didn't flinch. She just nodded slowly. I told you. I sighed. Yeah, you did. I knew it, she said. I knew she had that look. Carol, I said, rubbing my face. He's our son. She set the mug down. And she's the one pulling the strings. Over the next few weeks, it got worse. They came over more often, not to visit, but to measure things. I'm not kidding. Lisa walked around with a little notebook, like she was on some home renovation show. We could put the crib here, she said one afternoon, pointing at my den. My den, where I've watched every football season since '92. She didn't even say maybe. She said could. Carol sat there, tight-lipped, sipping her tea like it was the only thing keeping her from throwing it in Lisa's face. And Mark? He just followed her around like an extra in his own life. One night, Carol and I were sitting on the porch, lights off, just listening to the cicadas. That's something we do. It's quiet, peaceful. But that night, it felt different. Heavy. She said, he's not the same. I didn't respond. He used to come to us for advice. He used to talk to you about everything. Yeah, I said quietly. She's got him wrapped around her finger. I hated hearing it. Not because she was wrong, because she was right. Then came the official talk. Lisa showed up wearing a blazer. A blazer. Like she was about to present a PowerPoint on why we should leave. She sat at our kitchen table, smiled politely, and said, We've been thinking a lot about the future. I stared at her like she'd just broken into my house. Mark added, We just want what's best for everyone. Do you? I said. Lisa crossed her legs and leaned forward like she'd practiced this in front of a mirror. This house has so much potential. You and Carol have done an amazing job keeping it up, but it's too much space for just two people. You could sell, or rent it to us, or transfer it. That word again. Transfer. I swear, if she said it one more time, I'd put $1 in a jar and call it the transfer fund. Carol didn't say a word. She just stared at Lisa, the kind of stare that could cut through drywall. I asked, Lisa, do you have any idea what this house means to us? I do, she said sweetly. That's why we want to keep it in the family. In the family, I repeated slowly. By kicking the family out. Mark jumped in. Dad, stop twisting it. I looked at him. My son. My only son. And for the first time in my life, I didn't recognize him. I could give you every little detail that happened after. The arguments, the late night talks, the you're being unreasonable speeches. But it all comes down to this. Lisa was smart. She didn't just want a house. She wanted control. And she knew exactly which buttons to push on my son. She made it seem like they were helping us retire. She painted this beautiful picture of us enjoying Florida or living by the lake. And Mark, bless his naive heart, bought it. One night, we had it out. Mark stormed in, slammed the door, and said, Why can't you just support us? Because you're asking us to give up our home, Mark. It's not giving up, he snapped. It's moving on. Carol stood up then. Moving on to what? Living out of a box, so you can play house in the place we built. Lisa wasn't there that time. It was just the three of us. And that made it worse, because he didn't have to check with her first. The words coming out of his mouth were his own. He said, I don't understand why you're being so selfish. Selfish. That word hit like a brick. Carol actually took a step back, like the air had been sucked out of the room. I said, selfish? Mark, do you even hear yourself? Yes, he said. You guys always said you wanted to retire somewhere warm. We're offering you the chance. No, I said. You're offering us eviction dressed up as generosity. He opened his mouth, closed it, then stormed out again. He's always been dramatic like his old man. But this time it wasn't funny. You know, when your kid is little, you imagine the big fights will be about curfews or staying out too late or smoking behind the garage. You don't imagine fighting over your house like you're negotiating with a stranger. But that's where we ended up. The neighborhood started noticing too. My neighbor, Frank, a retired mechanic who spends more time on his porch than inside his house, caught me one morning as I was getting the mail. He leaned over the fence and said, Heard your boy's looking to move back in. Word travels fast, I muttered. Frank shrugged. My daughter tried that once. Wanted to reclaim her childhood home. I told her the only thing she's reclaiming is her old bedroom with the pink wallpaper. We both laughed, but it was the bitter kind of laugh that doesn't feel good. Then Lisa got bold. She brought a realtor over. I'm not kidding. A realtor. Some guy with slick hair, shiny shoes, and a grin that said, I'll make a commission off this whether you like it or not. I opened the door and said, Can I help you? He extended his hand. Hi, I'm Brad. I didn't shake it. Brad, get off my porch. Lisa came trotting up behind him. Dad, don't be rude. I'm not being rude, I said. I'm being the homeowner. Mark was there too, looking awkward as hell. He didn't say a word. Brad cleared his throat. Well, maybe we can schedule a walkthrough at a more convenient time. There's no convenient time, Brad, because this house isn't for sale. He backed away. Lisa crossed her arms. Mark stared at the ground. That was the day something snapped in me. Not the angry kind of snap, the quiet kind, the dangerous kind. I realized if I didn't draw a line, they'd keep pushing, and eventually, I'd be standing in some condo in Florida, wondering how the hell it all happened. So I did something unexpected. I called a friend of mine, Dave. We've known each other since high school. Dave works in construction and knows people who know people. I said, Dave, how fast can someone add a clause to a property deed? He laughed. Who are you trying to disinherit? I said, not disinherit, just protect. I added Carol's name as the sole primary owner with a living trust that locked the house down tighter than Fort Knox. Basically, no one could touch it without both of us agreeing. And if something happened to us, the property would go to a charity we picked years ago. Not to Mark, not to Lisa. Harsh, maybe, but necessary. The next time Mark came over, it wasn't a talk. It was to announce. He walked in, stood in the doorway like some lawyer about to present a case, and said, Lisa and I set a move-in date. I was sitting in my recliner, watching a game. I didn't even mute it. Good for you. He blinked. What? I said good for you. Where? Here, he said. Dad, don't start. I finally muted the TV. Mark, you're not moving in here. He looked at me like I just slapped him. What do you mean? We talked about this. No, I said. You talked. I said no. He turned red. You can't just. Yes, I can. Mom, he called toward the kitchen. Carol walked out slowly, drying her hands on a towel. Your father's right. That hit him like a punch. I can't believe this, he said. You're choosing. We're choosing our home, Carol said. Then I told him about the trust. His face fell. Not in the I lost the house way. In the I lost control of the narrative way. He realized Lisa wouldn't get what she wanted. And just like that, their smiles disappeared. He yelled a little, accused us of betrayal, said things he can't take back. Then he left, and Lisa didn't come around after that. Not once. We didn't talk for months. No Sunday dinners. No calls. Nothing. It was quiet. Too quiet. I missed my son. Of course I did. But I didn't miss Lisa measuring my walls. One day, months later, he called. Not to apologize. Just to talk. We met at a diner halfway between our places. It was awkward as hell. We ordered coffee. Neither of us drank it. He finally said, "I didn't realize how bad it sounded." I said, "Yeah, well, it did. She just made it sound like a good idea." "She's good at that," I said. He looked down at his hands. "We're not together anymore." I didn't cheer. I didn't say, "I told you so." I just nodded, because that's what dads do. "I screwed up," he said quietly. "Yeah," I said. "You did. But," I added, "you're still my kid." He finally looked me in the eye. And for the first time in a long time, I saw my son again. So that's the story. No big dramatic finale. No explosión. No. And then everything was perfect. That's not how real life works. He's rebuilding. We're talking again. He comes over sometimes, sits on the porch, drinks iced tea with me, and doesn't mention moving in. And you know what? That's enough. If you're waiting for the moral, I don't really have one. Except maybe this: trust your gut. If someone walks into your life, smiling too much and rearranging your furniture with their eyes, don't ignore it. And don't let anyone, even your own kid, convince you that your home is just a practical piece of real estate. It's not. It's your life. And no one gets to transfer that without your say.